In a time long ago, there was a brave scout named Kieran. He roamed the expansive deserts and canyons, always ready to lend a hand to those in need. Known for his keen instincts and sharp tracking skills, Kieran had earned the respect of many tribes for his courageous deeds. He moved silently through the wilderness, blending in with the natural surroundings, and could find his way even in the darkest nights. One sunny day, Kieran heard whispers of trouble involving a Navajo bride. The news spread like wildfire. She had been trapped in a canyon by a rival tribe. The moment Kieran learned of her plight, a sense of determination ignited within him. He wasn't just any scout, he had always believed in doing what was right, and freeing the bride was now his mission. He remembered tales of the canyon's treacherous paths and its fierce guardians, but fear never deterred him. Instead, it fueled his resolve to help those who could not help themselves. With every step he took towards the canyon, he prepared himself for the challenges ahead, full of hope that he could outsmart those who sought to keep her captive. As Kieran approached the canyon, he marveled at its towering walls, carved by centuries of wind and rain. The rugged landscape was a mix of vibrant reds and deep browns, illuminated by the bright sun above. Jagged rocks jutted out, creating natural ledges and shadowy crevices. It was both beautiful and treacherous, with steep drops that could lead to a painful fall. The air was dry and filled with the scent of sagebrush, while the distant sound of rushing water hinted at a hidden stream nearby. However, beneath this serenity lay danger. Kieran knew that rival tribes often used such secluded places for ambushes. He could almost feel the tension in the air as he ventured closer, aware that sharp eyes might be watching from the shadows. The entrance to the canyon narrowed like a throat, flanked by thorny shrubs that could snag an unwary traveler. Every step felt heavy with anticipation. Kieran's heart raced as he imagined the bride trapped somewhere within those formidable walls, surrounded by her captors. He steeled his mind for what lay ahead, ready to face not just the landscape but whatever threats lingered in the depths of that wild canyon. Not long before Kieran's arrival at the canyon, a peaceful gathering in the bride's village had been shattered. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the celebration when rival tribes, driven by jealousy and greed, launched a surprise attack. Confusion reigned as the joyous songs turned into cries of alarm, and the villagers scrambled to protect their homes. Amidst the chaos, the bride was snatched away, her frightened eyes searching for a familiar face. The attackers moved swiftly, racing through the brush and dragging her toward the canyon. The bride's clan fought bravely, but the superior numbers and strategy of their rivals overwhelmed them. She was taken to the heart of the canyon, where its towering walls could shield her captors from anyone who might dare to follow. As word spread about her capture, urgency gripped her people. They knew that if she remained in the canyon too long, her fate could be sealed. With every tick of time, hope began to fade. Kieran felt this sense of urgency push him forward as he remembered her bravery and strength. He couldn't let her down, he had to reach her before it was too late. As the rival tribes solidified their hold on the canyon, the bride's clan sprang into action, fueled by a powerful mix of fear and determination. They understood the stakes. If they didn't defend their territory fiercely, she might be lost forever. Without hesitation, the clan members gathered in groups, forming a united front at every exit of the canyon. With precision and skill, the warriors crafted a blockade using 20 carefully made flint arrows. Each arrow was sharp and deadly, honed to perfection for protection. They were strategically placed to block potential paths of escape. The clan members took turns taking positions behind rocks and ledges, their eyes scanning for any sign of movement from their rivals. The tension in the air was palpable as whispers of battle echoed through the canyon walls. Every member was aware that one wrong move could lead to disaster. Despite the fear they felt, there was a strong sense of unity among them. They would do whatever it took to keep their bride safe, knowing that honor and love motivated their fight. The sacrifices they were willing to make reflected not only their courage but also their deep commitment to one another and their traditions. As Kieran stood at the edge of the canyon, he assessed the situation carefully. He knew he had to act quickly and smartly to free the bride without endangering himself or her clan. First, he thought about the layout of the canyon and how the rival tribe had positioned themselves. The blockade of arrows made it clear that any direct approach would be dangerous. With a spark of inspiration, Kieran formulated a plan. He decided to create a distraction far from the exit points, hoping to draw the attention of the guards away from their posts. He gathered some dry brush and stones, preparing to start a small fire at a safe distance from the bride's location. The flames would send up smoke signals that could confuse her captors. While they were busy investigating the disturbance, Kieran would use his skills as a tracker to quietly slip past their defenses and reach the bride. He practiced moving silently over the rocky terrain, ensuring he wouldn't make a sound. His heart raced with excitement and fear, knowing that his clever strategy could mean life or death for both him and the bride. With resolve, he set his plan into motion, ready to put his intelligence and bravery to the ultimate test. As the smoke from Kieran's fire began to rise into the air, he took a deep breath and made his move. With careful steps, he approached the canyon, keeping low to the ground. The rocky terrain was his ally, providing natural cover as he adeptly maneuvered through the shadows. Each footfall was deliberate and quiet, his heart pounding in rhythm with the thrill of the moment. The guards, drawn to investigate the disturbance, gave Kieran a brief opportunity to slip unnoticed past their lookout points. He remembered his training, to breathe slowly and stay calm. He scanned the area for any signs of movement and relied on his keen sense of hearing to detect distant voices echoing off the canyon walls. As he crept closer to where the bride was held, he spotted her captors standing watch, their backs turned. With each subtle movement, Kieran edged closer, using narrow ledges and rocky outcrops for protection. Time seemed to stretch as he navigated through this dangerous landscape, every second counted. He felt an urgency build within him, not just for himself but for the bride whose fate rested in his hands. Stealthily, he continued his approach, determined to reach her without being seen. Finally, Kieran reached the small cave where the bride was held, his heart pounding in anticipation. As he peered inside, his eyes met hers, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. There she was, fearful yet determined, her spirit unbroken despite her captivity. He quickly motioned for silence, knowing they had to communicate without alerting her captors. Kieran crept further into the dim light of the cave and whispered softly, "I'm here to help you escape." The bride's eyes widened with hope as she nodded ever so slightly. She had been waiting for this moment, believing someone would come for her. He explained their plan in hushed tones, sharing how he had created a distraction with smoke and how the guards were likely occupied. "We have to move fast," he urged. "Follow me closely and stay quiet." She listened intently, her fear transforming into determination as they prepared to make their escape. With one last look around to ensure no one was watching, Kieran extended his hand toward her. Together, they knew they had a chance at freedom. Heart pounding with excitement and urgency, they began their stealthy retreat from the cave, ready to navigate the danger outside and head towards safety. As Kieran and the bride stealthily exited the cave, they found themselves confronted by the daunting canyon walls that echoed with the sounds of nearby guards. The tension was thick in the air as they crept forward, acutely aware that every step could lead them closer to capture. Suddenly, the sharp twang of a bowstring broke the silence, and an arrow whizzed past them, embedding itself into a rock just inches away. "Stay low," Kieran urged as he instinctively pulled her down behind a boulder. They exchanged fearful glances but also a shared determination that fueled their resolve. Trusting each other completely, they strategized quickly. Kieran spotted a narrow path along the cliffside that could lead them safely out of sight. "Follow my lead," he whispered, and together, they began to navigate the treacherous terrain. The incline was steep, and loose rocks threatened to send them tumbling down. Kieran offered a steady hand to help her climb, reinforcing their teamwork as they made their way up. As arrows flew overhead, they pressed on, each obstacle becoming more significant than the last. Yet, their trust in one another turned fear into strength. Working together, they sidestepped danger and inched closer to freedom, united by a purpose greater than themselves. As they maneuvered through the rocky path, a sudden flurry of flint arrows whistled through the air, narrowly missing them. The sound was sharp and alarming, cutting through the stillness of the canyon. Kieran's heart raced as he instinctively pulled the bride close to him, ducking behind a large boulder for cover. "Keep your head down," he whispered urgently, his mind racing with thoughts of escape. They peered around the rock to assess their surroundings, spotting the guards in the distance, drawing back their bows for another volley. Tension thickened the air as Kieran calculated their next move. "There's a narrow ledge up ahead," he said, pointing towards an opening in the cliffside that seemed to lead away from danger. "We have to make a run for it." With a deep breath, he nodded to her, and they bolted from their hiding spot just as another arrow flew past, embedding itself into the ground where they had just been. Kieran guided the bride along the precarious ledge, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Each step felt like a race against time as more arrows rained down around them, striking rocks and sending splinters flying. They had to push through the fear and trust each other completely if they were to escape the deadly threat looming behind them. As Kieran and the bride navigated the narrow ledge, the sounds of the canyon began to fade into the background, replaced by their own quickened breaths and pounding hearts. With every careful step, they moved closer to the opening that would lead them out of danger. The tension in the air shifted slightly, giving both of them a glimmer of hope. Finally, as they rounded a bend, they emerged from the shadowy cliffs into the open sunlight. The vast expanse of the desert sprawled before them, bathed in warm light, a stark contrast to the darkness they had just escaped. They paused for a moment, taking in the freedom that lay ahead, relief washing over them like cool water after a long drought. Kieran turned to the bride, their eyes locking in a moment of shared triumph. "We did it," he exclaimed, his voice a mixture of disbelief and joy. The bride smiled through her tears, her heart swelling with gratitude and admiration for his bravery. In that instant, they forged a bond stronger than words could express, a connection built on trust and shared experiences. With renewed determination, they set off together across the open land, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that together they could overcome anything. As Kieran and the bride began their journey back to her village, the vast desert stretched out before them, a canvas of endless possibilities. The sun shone brightly overhead, warming their skin and lifting their spirits. Each step they took felt lighter than the last, filled with the exhilaration of freedom after their harrowing escape. They walked side by side, sharing stories that deepened their connection and eased the tension of the previous hours. Kieran listened intently as the bride spoke of her life in the village, her dreams for the future, and her gratitude for his bravery. "I never thought I would see this day," she said with a smile that lit up her face. As they approached the familiar sights of her home, waves of relief washed over them. The sound of laughter and celebration reached their ears, echoing the warmth that surrounded them. Her clan would be waiting, ready to welcome her back with open arms. Kieran felt a sense of triumph swell within him, they had overcome tremendous odds together. When they finally reached the village, he knew he had not only freed the bride but also forged an unbreakable bond that would last a lifetime, a testament to courage, trust, and love in the face of adversity. As Kieran and the bride approached the village, the air was filled with excitement and joy. The moment they stepped into the clearing, a cheer erupted from the gathered clan members. Families rushed forward, embracing the bride and showering her with affection, their faces radiant with happiness. They had feared she would never return, and now they celebrated her safe return with open arms. The bride's mother wept tears of joy, brushing her daughter's hair back from her face. "You are home," she exclaimed, looking at Kieran with gratitude shining in her eyes. The villagers surrounded them, grateful for Kieran's bravery. They raised him as a hero, acknowledging his courage in rescuing their beloved daughter from the clutches of danger. Festivities began right away, with drums beating and laughter filling the air. Fire pits were lit to cook traditional meals, and songs of gratitude echoed through the village. The bride and Kieran found themselves at the center of a celebration that honored not only her return but also their shared journey of resilience. As they danced together under the stars, Kieran felt the deep connection he had forged with her clan. In that moment, he realized that love, bravery, and community had triumphed over adversity, creating bonds that would last a lifetime.